Hello and welcome to another edition of It's My Life with your host Chaya Srivatsa and my guest. What are we going to talk about today? What's my guest today up to? Have you ever heard of a spot girl? You've heard of a spot boy. I mean, those who know about the film industry, you know, the spot boy who runs around doing this, that and the other. You've never heard of a spot girl. Well, you'll meet one now, though she is an ex-spot girl. I am going to be talking to an entrepreneur who has come from Australia to Bangalore and set up her own entertainment industry. Now, isn't that something? To go to another country, to start from scratch and make, or rather carve a niche for yourself. Isn't that something to talk about? All right, hold on. I'm going to introduce you to my guest, who is Rubia Braun. And Rubia will tell me all about her life because it's her life. Welcome, Rubia, to my show.
Thank you, Chaya. It's lovely to be here.
Now, Rubia, let's start. Let's start from the spot girl. Okay, it's always fun to start at a dramatic, interlude in your life.
Yes, it was quite dramatic. I actually decided within 10 days to leave Australia to come to India. So it wasn't exactly a well-informed decision. And I was coming over to Hyderabad. And at that point, I knew nothing about India at all. Not Shah Rukh Khan's, not chai, not auto rickshaws, nothing.
Excuse me. You think India is Shah Rukh Khan?
Well,
I think India is Amitabh Bachchan, not Shah Rukh Khan.
From an international perspective, I would say that Shah Rukh Khan is probably more well-known. So some of my peers would have known him at least, and even I didn't, because of his modeling days with big contracts with big companies.
Okay.
But anyway, so I was extremely non-informed, and I decided not to inform myself as well to see what it would be like when I got here. That was my first mistake.
Mistake or adventure?
Oh, it was an adventure. I guess you don't really make mistakes. All of them are learning experiences, right? But I think in hindsight, if I had the choice, I would have at least opened up the internet to do a bit of research about the country I was moving to. Anyway,
one sec.
Yeah.
Why did you think of moving to? What made you choose India?
It was the largest filmmaking nation on earth.
Okay.
And I thought, how about I go about something a bit left field, because I never went with the crowd generally. And I wanted to get over to Hollywood. And I thought the best way to get experience on feature films would be to come to India, to work in Bollywood.
Okay.
Yes. So I found a company that allowed me to get a visa to come over to work on what I thought would be feature films. And I thought that Hyderabad was Bollywood because, again, I had done no research, which was
Very
incorrect.
Bad,
Yes, it was bad. So I arrived in Hyderabad, stayed in a PG, which in itself is a whole nother radio show, seriously, because I had never shared a room before, and now I was sharing one room with four other very hormonal females. Yes.
Okay.
Who did things
Were you trying to cut costs and that's why?
No, I was told that this would be the safest way to come to a new country, particularly Hyderabad in 2006, 2007. It was a very different place than what it is today. But yeah, I came over to work with a particular company, and day one of working with them, I realized that everything that I thought was going to be there based on my visa was not true. So, they were meant to be in feature film production, but they weren't. They were into making serials. Almost nobody spoke English except for the actors. Okay. And, I mean, this was very, very foolish of me to assume, but I thought with the colonial past and everyone saying how English is an excellent language here, I thought it wouldn't be an issue. So, again, that was another experience.
So you said you didn't know the language and you ended up in this production house which only makes serials.
Right.
And cereals, Serials.
Okay. Yes. Oh, gosh, if it was breakfast cereals would be in even more trouble today. But no, they were making those fantastic cereals that you see at 7 or 8 o'clock at night, primetime television. But I knew that it was not for me because there was probably about 120 people working on a show that I was used to maybe 20 people working on. So I kind of sat down with the producer and I said, "When's your next feature?" And they said, oh, we haven't made one for a decade. So, because back in those days, don't mind, but back in those days, not many companies were online.
Yes.
So it's really hard to do research. Even if you were going to do research, it's just word of mouth.
Okay.
And you have to take that. So I realized that I was in a predicament. Either I could go back to Australia with my tail between my legs, or I could try and make something of myself. And again, I guess the foolishness helped because the foolishness of youth and the arrogance, shall I admit to as well, with where you think that everything's going to work out okay just because.
Why don't you call it optimism?
Optimism as well, sure, but sometimes it's a little blind, yeah.
Blind optimism.
Yeah, blind
Okay.
optimism.
All right.
So I basically thought, what's the best way to get around the situation? And I started going to nightclubs and hanging out in 5-star hotels and looking at anyone that looked important, saying, please help me. I'm a foreigner stuck in your country.
Oh my God, you were doing something really dangerous.
Do you know anyone that works in the film industry, and can you help me? Well,
God, did you have any bad experiences about it?
no, none at all.
No?
I fell in love with the country during this
No,
experience.
when you were telling people.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I fell in love with the country through this experience because of just how helpful and how wonderful everybody was.
That's good news.
Yeah, so luckily one person took me onto a film set of 7 Acres Studio, which is Annapurna Studios, big family based out of Hyderabad. And from there I managed to network until eventually I got very small jobs on particular films where they used to yell at me if I would pick up anything because it wasn't right for a guest or a foreigner or a woman to be picking up things like cables.
Okay.
But then I eventually got myself to Rummajee Film City, which is kind of the gold mine for studios, or was at that time anyway. And I ended up living there and working as what is considered a spot girl. I called myself a spot girl because I always think you learn more from the bottom up. So
Absolutely.
it was really important. And I managed to convince a producer to give me a chance. And I think I was at that time earning 8,000 rupees a month.
And you could manage with that?
Yeah, because I had accommodation as well. And for me, it was just about the experience, you know.
Okay.
On film sets, you get fed. On film sets, you get tea
See,
at least 6
look at
times.
that.
I have 11 cavities from
Thanks
the
to-
time left over as a spot girl because of the amount of tea that I was drinking.
Okay.
So, yeah, being a spot girl was fantastic because all of the guys at Rummajee called me Akka and I called them Anaya.
Oh.
And so that was the only way that we communicated. But even today, on a random film set, I will have some person come up and say, oh my gosh, it's you, you know, basically.
Yes.
So, yeah, it was a very, very interesting experience. I had to be very aggressive about it to have the opportunity to do that.
And this shows that what Lola wants, Lola gets. Right?
Well,
You came to a strange country. You came without being forewarned, being forearmed, anything, but just carrying your dream with you that you wanted to get into the make-believe world of cinema.
yeah.
And in a very dramatic way, you found yourself.
I guess so, yeah. One interesting incident happened. I was on a film set and all of a sudden a guy rocks up on a 2-wheeler and he comes up and he's like, oh, madam, white people, come quickly, jildi. So I jumped on the back of his bike and he drove me into town to Chalmana. And sure enough, there were people there working from Film 4. And I went up and it was very strange at that time to see other foreigners in Hyderabad. And we kind of looked at each other and were like, what are you doing here?
Okay.
I spoke to the producer and I said, do you have any jobs? He said, absolutely not. Please leave.
You just wanted a crowd of white people.
Well, no. I mean, there's all these people from Film 4. So all of these British people, Academy Award winners, BAFTA Award winners, working on this very, very big production that was in Hyderabad. Hyderabad often doubles as Pakistan. And this is what it was doing as well in that situation. And yeah, the producer wanted nothing to do with me. But what was really interesting was that the Indian head of camera said, I'll hire you. So I was hired as an Indian crew member on a British production, and that was a huge leg up for me in the industry.
And what do you have to do? What did the job entail? See, not many people really know about, we see movies, but what happens behind the scene,
Okay.
we really don't know. So I'd like you to share some of them and what all happens there?
Sure. So a spot boy or a spot girl in my situation is just someone that gets yelled at a lot and you have to run around and do any small job, whether it be picking up a cable, whether it be holding an umbrella over somebody's head or getting somebody water, something like that. It's like the lowest rung of the ladder.
Okay.
When I was working for Film 4, I jumped up to assistant director.
From a spot boy?
From a spot girl. Yes.
Oh, that's
I started as assistant camera, but camera was not something I was trained in. So they then put me as an assistant director, and I was in charge of crowd control, bringing the talent. So that's like the actors and the heroes and the heroines, bringing them onto set. You get to feel very important because you get to hold a walkie-talkie and talk through that, and people are yelling at you to do something, and you'll try and organize it. So yeah.
And without knowing the country, without knowing the language, you were able to manage all this?
Yeah, you know what I love about India, amongst many things, is that it's a very dramatic, communicative country. So I think a lot gets communicated just through eyes,
body language,
yes. And vocal tone. So I think that was plenty.
If somebody yells at you in Hindi, Telugu, whatever, from the tone you can make out that he's yelling at you.
You can tell what is kind of half angry and what is really angry. Yes, you can, absolutely.
All right. So what else happens there?
So from that, I managed to bump into the BBC. And so I was a third assistant director on the Film 4 thing. And then when I was interviewed by the BBC, I jumped up to the next rung, which was great. So that was working on a children's game show, which is very interesting.
In India?
In India, again, but it was meant for the BBC or BBC Worldwide.
Okay.
That was called Raven. And then after that, I thought I would head over to the UK and live in the UK, that my time in India was done, because my 9 months or my 9-month visa was now finished. And so when I was over in the UK working, I realized how much I missed India. And the person who is now my business partner contacted me and said, hey, why don't you come to Bangalore and let's make a feature film together? And I thought, well, great, because sometimes a lot of doors close so that another door opens. And for me, what had happened in the UK was that it's just like, for whatever reason, one thing after the other, jobs I had fell through. It's very difficult being a freelancer because you're as good as your next job is.
Correct.
So even though I was working for the BBC, you're constantly searching for the next job. I had all these job interviews and I got the job. And then for whatever reason, the projects fell through or I got replaced or something. And then all of a sudden this phone call come to India.
At no point did you think of going back to Australia?
No, once you hit the Northern Hemisphere, it's a bit distance to get back to Australia. I have gone back. In the last 6 years, I've lived in 5 countries. So yeah, and Australia was one of them, but I keep coming back to India.
I want to talk about India now a little, about your perspectives about India.
Sure.
You've been here for 6 years, and you said that you love India.
Yes.
Can you tell me specifically, what is it that you love about India?
The endless opportunity. The potential is staggering. It's difficult. Don't get me wrong. It's not perfect. It's called Incredible India for a reason, because it can swing both ways. But the vast diversity that you get and that hope of the bigger thing or the next thing is prevalent in all the people that I meet.
But I don't think Indians themselves think that there is vast opportunity here. They themselves do not see a great future for themselves unless you're well connected, unless you have some, networking, political pull and things like that. Do you agree with that? Or is it because India still has this hangover about the white skin and has been easier for you?
That's 2 questions there. I'll answer the first one.
Questions, yeah.
I think it really depends who you meet, and attitude cannot be defined by class or socioeconomic background. You can find the most amazing, optimistic people in every level in India, and you can find the most critical, pessimistic people at every level. The point is, in India, everything exists, right?
Because of the huge numbers that we have.
That's right.
So there's variety in.
But my business partner and I ended up making this feature film to prove a point to people out there that believe that they could not get into the media industry. We heard some fact that it was like a lakh of people get sent away every fortnight from Bollywood trying to get in, and you have casting couches and all this disgusting, despicable behavior.
Okay.
So we decided to make a feature film from start to finish with cinematic release, not using any of our contacts, for 5 lakhs. And we crowdfunded that. We were one of the first films ever in India to be crowdfunded.
Okay.
So we didn't have to spend a rupee from our pocket. All of our investors, and I say that with inverted commas now, investors got the return on what they were expecting.
And what is this film about? What's the name of the film and what is it about?
It's called The Successor, Private and Confidential. And it was one of a 5...
In English?
Yeah, it's in English.
Okay.
It was one of a 5-film model. It's all about Bangalore. It's about a hidden mafia in the IT industry that controls everything.
Okay.
It was India's first mockumentary at the time, and it stars Bangalorean personalities. It has only cast and crew from Bangalore. We even started a traffic CSR with the traffic police because we thought that was an issue very important to Bangalore. But the point is, coming back to your original question.
Of the white skin.
No, that's the second one. The original question, though, is that we did that to prove a point to all the people out there that feel that it isn't possible. The fact is, it is possible, and most people just don't know that in India there are possibilities to explore. So I think nowadays people are starting to slowly creep from outside of the box that constrains them, and that's why I think it's very exciting. White skin, let's put it this way. It helps sometimes, and it really doesn't sometimes. So when it helps, it might help to get me a meeting.
Yeah. Okay.
But it's never going to help me to close
Clinch
the
the
deal.
deal.
Yeah,
Yes.
never.
Never.
And sometimes people will be prejudiced against me because I'm a foreigner. Or like if I'm sitting in a room and all of a sudden big negotiations are happening and they'll purposefully jump to Hindi or Kannada or Telugu, something like that.
So to marginalize you.
Yes, exactly, to shove me out. So I think it evens itself out.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, what you said was the opportunities are plenty. It's just that one has to come out of the box.
Yes.
I think that's a good message you're giving, that if people in India think that they don't have opportunities, that you have to be well connected, it's really not so. You're making a point about that?
Yeah, I think that people rely too much on external forces controlling their lives.
Very
and
good.
the fact is you have 2 hands, and that has been the thing for me too. Every time I've tried to rely on somebody else, it's never worked out the way I've expected. Whereas if I do something with my own 2 hands, then at least I can guarantee the
And your
outlook.
head, because basically Indians are supposed to be very intelligent, and it's
They
our
are, yeah.
DNA because of our tradition, culture, whatever it is. And she's going to tell us more about this film, how she went about it.
Okay, sure. It's a huge adventure like no other. It was something that I thought would take 3 months and took a better of 2 years to actually get up and running. That's because we put such restraints on ourselves. Like, we can't spend over this budget. And the best thing about having no money is it means you have to think more. You have to be more creative.
Necessity is the mother of
yes,
invention.
absolutely. And I never learned anything like through this project, The Successor.
Okay.
We managed to pay everyone. We had 75 locations. We were shown in 3 cities in Inox cinemas. We had 50 house parties. Basically, what came out of this is that we had to create a new way of production, a new way of marketing, and a new way of distribution.
This
So-
was a regular feature film with 3 hours, 2.5 hours, whatever.
It's almost 2 hours. Yes, it was a regular feature film.
It had a hero and the heroine and the
It did,
villain.
it
and
did,
the
it did.
Rapist and
No.
the-
No. Like I said, it was about a hidden mafia in the IT industry. So
Why do you? Okay, you've said this is the second time you're
Yes.
saying it. I'm really intrigued by this.
Yes.
The mafia in the IT industry.
Well, because
What's a mafia there?
we called it ethics control. We decided that when somebody talks, if you're at a dinner party and somebody says, "Oh, I work in IT," then the conversation kind of stops in Bangalore because everybody works in IT, or a lot of
Exactly.
people work in IT.
What's new?
And it's like, what's new and how is that interesting? If you're a non-techie, how can you have a conversation? And if it's 2 techies having a conversation, then a non-techie is not going to be able to understand that.
Okay.
So based on this idea, we thought it would be hilarious that what happens if the techie you're talking to was actually a hitman?
Oh.
And there was actually a lot more to the IT industry, and that all of these big deals that are being brokered, if that was all controlled by a department known as ethics control, and that actually the clean IT industry is actually has a very seedy underbelly. And we thought that was an interesting premise for a film.
Yeah, sounds good. Because it's all outsourced anyway from other countries.
Correct.
So
yeah, so we thought it would
sounds
be
like a
quite
mafia.
funny to explore that. Actually, when we had the premiere of the film at Fun Cinemas in Cunningham Road, at least 80% of the audience believed the story was true.
and they were ITs or non-ITs?
Yeah, a huge mix of people.
Okay. How did the IT react to this word mafia about them?
Well, you see, we never used the word mafia. So we just said a hidden department that controls what's happening in the business. And so I think most people just thought that was HR. But
That's what they would say, yeah.
so again, it was that idea that people just don't ask questions, and maybe they should, right? So no, what was more interesting for us, I think, was the marketing of this movie.
Okay.
So we found all of the actors through theatre because Bangalore has a thriving theatre
Very
scene.
good.
So
Yeah.
yes, we did find people from there and we auditioned them, and that was fantastic. We actually had some personalities like Srisanth, the cricketer, and
He was the mafia?
no, he was a friend of the hitman.
Because he's turned out to be one now.
Well, we love Shri. There's Prasad Badappa, who's a fashion
Yeah,
guru.
yeah,
yes,
sure.
so we also got him. He was very generous with his time in the film.
Okay.
A few different celebrities from around. They
So
decided
why
to come
don't you
in.
tell me some of them? Who else apart from these?
Oh, you know what? They'll kill me if I forget one of them.
No,
then
it doesn't
I'll be
matter.
in
We'll
trouble.
always have a disclaimer. All those who have not been mentioned, please consider yourself mentioned.
Please consider yourself mentioned. Oh, geez. We had actors and directors from the local industry, so from Sandalwood, and we had racing car drivers.
See, one thing
and-
is, any film or whatever, it really piggyback rides on the names that you dropped.
yeah.
So
It
let's hear
does.
the names that you drop in these.
Yeah, no, and I'm going to avoid this question because the point we were trying to prove back in that time
That you don't need names.
is that we don't need names. You need a concept that can sell, and you need
Okay.
an excellent marketing campaign
Sure.
behind
So
it.
tell me about your marketing campaign then.
So, a hoarding. I mean, how much do you think a hoarding costs?
But how come I've never seen this, Rubia? I do move around quite a bit in the city.
Okay.
I've never seen a hoarding. I haven't even heard of this movie. Say
Right.
that again, please. Just
The
name of the movie?
The Successor.
The Successor.
A lot of people know of the movie as Who is Raj?
The Successor. So,
Yes, The Successor.
okay.
It's okay. It's
No, I've heard it now. I'm saying it again so that my listeners can hear that again.
The Successor, private and confidential. The whole idea was a conspiracy, right? That's what we were trying to create. So,
The conspiracy between who? The IT person and who?
through the fact that there was the conspiracy that there is actually a hidden mafia inside the IT industry, and that any people that
You're
have
scaring them now.
gone missing. I'm saying it's not true, but in the movie we tried to portray it as true. So
Okay.
we created a whole conspiracy campaign around the main character who was called Raj.
Who was Raj in this?
So who is Raj? That's the question we wanted everyone to ask.
Nobody knows who's Raj.
No, you have to watch the movie to find out.
Oh, okay. All right. I'm going to watch it now.
So we managed to tie up with a hoarding company here because a hoarding costs around about, can be anywhere from 30,000 to 5
50.
lakhs
Yeah,
for a
okay.
month, right? Our entire budget was 5 lakhs. So how are we going to justify doing stuff like that? So my business partner came up with a brilliant idea saying, what about if we graffitied on top of hoardings? So we don't actually have a hoarding itself, but we do. And
Which is how?
because we could graffiti on top of it, which we did, which was Raj was here or who is Raj. And we did it with big lettering. And we tied up with Outdoor Magic, a hoarding company, who agreed for us to do this on several hoardings.
Hoardings,
And so
okay.
we actually managed to have about 15 to 20 hoardings across Bangalore in prime spaces like MG Road,
Pretty
Richmond
good.
Road, all of
Okay.
that with all of this advertising for the film. That's just one example. Another example, piracy is a real issue. So we actually made fake pirated version of the film.
You made it yourself.
Yeah, we made it ourselves, and we hired actors to pretend to be peddlers to go to all the major colleges to sell them. And when you put the DVD into your computer, immediately one of the main actors said, "Shame on you, piracy is wrong. You're the reason for our industry." However, if you enter this code online, you will get a 20 rupee discount on the movie ticket, blah, blah, blah.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah, interesting campaigns.
Yes.
And we learnt a lot from that. And for me, speaking about it now, it feels like decades ago. Because
when was this?
it was, I think, 2008, 2009, something like that.
Uh-huh.
So the company has come so far since that point. And this for me was
And
like...
your business partner is an Indian.
He is. We met at when we
You
worked
wouldn't want to name him.
Kranti Varma.
Okay.
And I very proudly say that he's my Iraqi brother. He's
nice.
very important to me, yes.
Okay.
Metro Brava is the name of our company.
Is he also from the background from the film industry?
Yeah, he is. He's a third-generation film producer and exhibitor.
Okay.
So
he knows the ropes.
He knows a little bit, yeah.
Yes.
We met when we worked for Warner Brothers in Australia together. Absolutely.
Did you also use social media for that?
We did. We actually had a soundtrack of the film for sale on Facebook.
Okay.
Which was like the first of its kind as well.
Okay.
Back in those days, it wasn't as adopted as it is again, you know. So like, even though we had the website, even though we had social media, I think if we were to do the film again today. It would be very viral, very different.
Why don't you do it again?
Because we have a rule in our company that we never do the same thing twice.
You don't do it twice. Just outsource it to somebody else to do that.
We're pretty busy, Chaya. So I would love to have the time to even sit with someone to do this, but we have bigger and better things.
How does one see it then? How does one see it? Like now, I would like to see it. How do I see it?
Actually, we've written a book based on all of our experiences.
No, we don't want to read a book. We want to see the film.
The film is included with the book as a case study.
Ah, okay.
Because we did it to prove a point.
Is it available in the bookshops in Bangalore?
It will be published at the end of this year. So
Okay,
yeah, we've been working on it for some time, and it will be out fairly soon, which will explain everything that we went through, including, you know, we recorded conversations with distributors to just prove how difficult it is if you're an outsider trying to come in. And the kind of conversations that people have it's despicable, actually. The sort of things I'll say, like things like, oh, if you're not related to this person, then you're not going to be able to get on this screen. But if your father can tell me this, then I'll talk to you. So based on that, we came up with micro distribution. So we had house parties. If we thought, if we can't be in the cinema, then let's just get the movie to people in other ways.
Lovely. Okay.
Yeah. So we had 36 house parties across
But that
India.
won't get you any money to recover, isn't it?
Yes.
And you can't charge people at house parties.
No, you can't charge. Oh, well, you can charge. You can charge entrance. You can have...
Okay.
Yes, there are different ways around that. It was for us, again, to prove a point, not necessarily the biggest money-making venture ever. 5 lakhs to make a film from start to finish. I mean, who does that, right?
Absolutely. Have you kept really tight control over it and you know that you've only spent 5 lakhs?
Yeah. To the rupee.
To the rupee.
Yes.
Okay.
To the rupee, absolutely. Including tax, including everything.
Fantastic. This could be a lovely case study,
Yeah,
no?
that's why we did it, yes.
Okay.
And have we made our budget back? Yes, we have. So we have managed to, in other ways, alternative ways to grab income from
Don't
it.
you think this is a very good format, Rubia? Because, I mean, I'm just now, getting my imagination wild on this. There are youngsters who do film institute courses and they can't make it big in the film industry because it's a very incestuous industry. It only allows those whom they know and, like you said, total outsider. Now, suppose they could get together and make something like this after reading your case study.
That's the whole reason why we've done it. That was the whole thing that was... We can't stand people that say, I've traveled from this village to try and make it as an actor, and then it never happened.
It doesn't happen.
Again, I go back to the analogy, you have your own 2 hands and a brain. Use them. Okay? Because if you're constantly relying on everybody else, then you're hoping to be the exception, whereas you're generally going to be the rule. And we always try and tell students out there, be the exception by knowing you're not the exception. And use your hands to create your own future.
Absolutely. And if you've taken to this kind of a profession, which is not really the conventional, traditional ones like engineer, doctor types, you don't even get enough support from the family.
Yeah, many times that happens. Like I'm now in education as well, creative education, and quite a few times I've sat down with parents. What people don't realize is that how important it is to actually do something in your life that you're passionate about, and that is creative, and that can help you in other areas of your life also. So for people that we never recommend to disown your family and go out and live that passion, because that's, your family is...
You're not being pragmatic about
No,
all
you're
that,
not.
yeah.
But if it's enough for you just to do something that you're passionate about, like on the side, like little short films, or there's so many film festivals now, theatre festivals, so many different ways of getting and showcasing your work, that it shouldn't have to be an all or nothing. Why does everything have to be so black and white? It doesn't. It
That's
really
how
doesn't.
we are conditioned to think. We are a very safety oriented country. We need to put away money for the grandchildren. And, you build a house so that the family inherits it. You have jewelry which the family will inherit. You have a government which the family inherits.
Brilliant. Well, I'm saying take those grandchildren, make them make a film. It's, you've got on your mobile phone now, you can pretty much make a film out of it. Your grandchildren will know how to put it on YouTube, use that house that you've bought as a location and the jewelry as costumes. Honestly, you can combine it all.
Yeah. And Rubia, now tell us about what you're doing now.
Right. So nowadays, I guess I call myself more of an accidental entrepreneur rather than a filmmaker per se.
Okay.
So from the days of being a spot girl, and when we registered my company Metro Brava and came out with the successor, from there we've now expanded into 8 wings, and we have 25 people working for us. So I say accidental entrepreneur because my business partner is the entrepreneur, and I just kind of stumbled along with him. But now I love it. Okay. I love the passion. I think my passion has evolved from filmmaking into being entrepreneurial, because they're so related. Yes.
But isn't a filmmaker an entrepreneur
Exactly,
too?
Yes.
Okay.
But you just wouldn't think about it that way unless you had gone into it. So production is still something that we're very much into. We don't do these kind of alternative experimental projects anymore. We do them on the side because we love doing them. I think you learn most. But we've worked with some of the really big names in the South, helping them with their international co-production stuff. And we do distribution now, everything based on what we learned from the successor and forward. We have exhibition. We've taken on a couple of cinema screens, which we're running now as well. Manarajan Theatre at Makery Circle, that's ours. So, it belongs to the Air Force, but we're running it. And so it
used to be in such a dilapidated condition.
Oh, please come see it. You've
done
so
it
lovely. Oh, yeah.
Okay.
And I will humbly brag that it is the best sound design of a cinema in Bangalore.
I remember going there about 40 years ago.
Oh, wow.
So.
No, it's a beautiful retro building, absolutely. But the inside is all decked out now, so we're very proud of it.
Okay.
But education has been a really big thing for us. So,
what do you mean by that?
Well, it was, again, something accidental. I came on to do consultation. We do a lot of consultation, and came on to open possibly a film school in Bangalore. And I came up with the research after having spoken to more than 2,000 15 to 20-year-olds that it probably wasn't the most viable option to do. So it would be better to do short creative courses, which people would be able to get a big taste of the practical side of it and have something to show for it, but not have to end their engineering dreams of their parents or themselves. So, we came up with Odyssey of Creative Industry, and to date, we've had more than 2,000 students go through it.
So what do you teach in these courses, and how long are they?
They range from, generally speaking, 1 month to 3 months.
Okay.
That's it.
Over the weekends or something?
No, it's during, just after normal classes of college. So they're for PU students and bachelors, and we will be going into MBA level fairly soon. They are specifically designed for the students that are coming. So we do acting skills for BBM students. So we have a think, okay, if you're going to do BBM, then your career path is probably MBA. So what kind of skills would be important to you? You'd need to know how to improvise. You'd need to know how to... So we designed the curriculum from international actors based on the skills that they would need. We teach hip-hop dancing. We teach photography for science students. We teach professional writing, because that is something that is so much talent in this country, and it's not harnessed enough.
Yeah.
So writing is something I'm very passionate about going forward with Odyssey. And social media, we teach that. Gaming, we teach how to be a professional gamer. A lot of things that would appeal to that age group.
What is your observation about Indian women?
Beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. Indian women are inspiring to me because they come from many different backgrounds and have very, very differing stories. I've met a lot of really, really amazing women that they're good. You can tell that there's a goodness about them. They want to help. They're very generous with their time. They're very loving and caring. If you go to a kiddie party or if you see a big gathering of ladies somewhere, there's a certain feeling about that as well.
Very competitive.
Yeah, I think in general, Indian women are very strong, whether they know it or not. They are very strong, very expressive, and fantastic. I love getting to meet anybody in this country.
But they don't know how to use that strength.
Sure.
They become aggressive. And
I think
one thing that they don't know is how to be assertive.
Yeah, there's a difference between aggression and being assertive.
Which is the reason why they are perceived as weak.
You could argue that that's the same for women in other countries also.
Yes, very true. It's a very woman-y kind of a thing where you want to please everybody.
Sure.
You don't want to, hurt anybody. I want to be good. I want to be nice. I want to be Miss Goody Two-Shoes. And
sure.
That gets them into a lot of trouble.
I'm sure there are some individuals like that.
You and me,
absolutely.
we're sitting here. So that's another thing we want to communicate through this TV program is, come on, it's your life. Okay? You can shape it.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, like you said, you've got two
huge believer
hands.
of that, yes.
You got the head and you're beautiful. Use it to make a beautiful life for yourself.
Yeah, lady on.
Lady on. Thank you so much, Rubia. It was great fun talking to you. And thank you for being with us on this show.